Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this morning, and we're going to have a great show. We're going to have a tear-jerking, good informational show, if that made sense to you. That's what we're going to have. But first, it's time. Remember, what I'm saying is Phyllis, not nobody else. So, and if you need to say ouch, just say it. I'm okay with that. As we know, Monday is the celebration for Martin Luther King Day. And it's a day that we should remember. It's a day on, not a day off. So we should remember that. That's what that day is about. But that's when we give thanks to Martin Luther King and things that he did. But also, this is when we make a tragic mistake. The first thing we always do when we talk about Martin Luther King is we think of that speech called I Have a Dream. We think about that, and we often utilize that one because that's a comfortable speech. Think about it. It's a comfortable speech. I don't care what age you are, what culture you are, where you're from. That's a comfortable speech for everybody. So everybody uses it because everybody want to be comfortable. My question is why? To me, his most speech, the speech I listen to, is the one that he says he fears that he integrated his people into a burning building. When he realized that his dream was just his dream and not America's dream. When he realized that the struggle was continuing no matter what he did. So he felt that he was sending his people into a burning building. Why we don't play that speech? Why? Because we're going to make somebody uncomfortable? Why? Because we're going to make you think? Why? Because everybody's not going to sit there in that group that you're having that event. That everybody in there is not going to go, shake their shoulders a little bit, turn their head. Why they saying that about him? Why not? Because that's what he said. So, often when we do our Martin Luther King Day programs, let's start putting more than I Have a Dream speech. Why not use that one? Because guess what? Right now, his dream is out the window somewhere. Right now, our people are in a burning building. Who's in a burning building right now? Our black men. Our black men. Beforehand, they used drugs to control our black men. They did. And they used incarceration. To control our black men. Well, now there's a new way to control our black men. Let's just shoot them. Let's just shoot them. So we're doing that. And then we're going to still go back to Monday saying, I have a dream speech. How does that sound? It does, to me right now, that don't sound too smart, because I'm gonna go up here and say this man had a dream and this is what it was all about. Yet I'm gonna walk out that door and I'm gonna talk about the Reed family, the Dean family, Marvin Guy's family. I'm gonna talk about all these families when I walk out there, but I'm gonna sit in there and say I have a dream. I don't know if it's you or me or whatever, but to me that didn't make any sense. So if we're gonna talk about Martin Luther King, we need to remember he was more than just that speech. We need to talk about the fact that he did tell us to support our own. He did tell us to stand up for what was right. We need to remember those things about him instead of that one, because we put him in a little box and we leave him there and we want to make it comfortable for everybody. Well, why we got to make things comfortable? Why do we have to make everything comfortable for everybody? Why can't we just take a stand like we know we're supposed to do? Why can't we remember he made other speeches that will motivate us to do what we need to do rather than that one? So I'm not saying don't celebrate his day, but let's remember he did more speeches than that. Let's look, let's dig, and realize that speech he later realized, not that it wasn't true, but that was his dream. That wasn't America's dream. You never heard anybody else give that speech other than him. But when he realized that his speech wasn't working, that his dream was just his, then he made other speeches. But we tend to lean on that one, and we're happy about it. So I'm saying, how you go in this area, play I Have a Dream speech and walk out the door and remember what's going on with our black men? I just want somebody to answer me that. Just a leader or someone's in charge or whatever who's doing a program. Let me know why you're going to use that speech when these things are going on. Why don't we need to look further and see what other speeches this man did that will relate to what's going on today? And if we do it, guess what? You'll find them. You'll find it. But we need to stop saying one thing over here and something else is happening over there. We're not making any sense. We might think we are, but we're not making any sense. We're not, because you can't do two things at one time that don't meet. So, as I'm saying, Monday is the celebration of his birthday, because his birthday was the 15th. Well, would have been the 15th, But let's think about what we're celebrating. Let's think about what we're saying when we celebrate. Let's stop trying to make we African American folks try to make everybody comfortable when the same thing isn't happening to us. So we need to say, if I'm uncomfortable, you gonna be uncomfortable. We need to let everybody know I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not happy with what's going on, so you won't be either. Until we are fairly happy. So since we know most likely that's never going to happen, we need to stand up and remember the struggle must continue. And it's going to continue, but we need to be in the right frame of mind and not think this and do that. Because we're sending a crazy message when we do things like that. And often we do, and we don't think about what we're doing. We just simply robotically do. Well, so we need to quit robotically doing certain things. And like I said, today and tomorrow, Monday, go listen to some of his other speeches. Go listen. I challenge everybody. Just go listen to a couple other ones. Just go listen to them. And if you do, you'll say, wait a minute, hold up. I don't know what we're doing this because it's been done. And somebody going to say to you, we do it because it's been doing. Everybody else do it. So I'm like falling into line with everybody else. Seriously? Really? So now we sounding like the police who saying, I feel threatened. He said it, so I'm going to say it. Or they've been saying it, so we sound like that. You know what I mean? I feel threatened. Okay, so this can be done. So are we falling into that? Yeah, we are. We are. You've been doing it because they've been doing it, and you never thought about why you did it. You just do it because everybody else been doing it. For real? Seriously? Does that make it smart? No, it doesn't. So we need to start thinking. We like I said, I can't go to a march for Michael Dean and then say Martin Luther King had a dream for us all to be together. He had a dream. It was just a dream. It wasn't a reality. It was a dream. And I need to go look at his other speeches to figure out and to find out what else he said. So that's my soapbox. I'm just saying. Just saying that. So anybody who do I have a dream speech, I'm going to talk to him on Monday. But this morning, I have 3 guests. And we're going to talk about an incident that happened in Temple. It happened in December. And I'll start it. And from what I read, I'm just going to do it that way. You know, we suddenly read on a Tuesday, I think it was. On a Tuesday, I think we read it. Or whatever day we read it in the paper, and we heard on the news that a young man, African-American male in Temple, had got shot by the police. You know, and the first thing I think I said was another one, for real. So what are we going to do about it now? And my thing was, what are we going to do about it now is this. Once again, you know, something happened in the shooting when it happened in St. Louis. What did we say? Didn't we say that was in St. Louis? It's not going to happen here? We said that. Yeah, we did. We said that. And then it happened like closer to us in Texas. And what did we say? It's not going to happen in Central Texas because it's not going to happen here. So we didn't do nothing about the people that are dead but feel sorry for them. We didn't do nothing. Then, oops, it happened in Killeen. So what do we do? Nothing. And what did Temple do? Nothing. Y'all just feel sorry for it. It never happened in Temple. Oops, it happened in Temple. It did. So what I want to know is, I have the family on here, so you can introduce yourself.
I am Tashina Dean. I'm Michael's older sister.
Deshandra Dean. I'm his older sister as well.
And I'm Benny Walsh. I'm the Temple Branch NAACP president.
Okay, so walk me through that day, family.
So, just begin. I've gotten home late from work, just a regular night. My parents had recently just gone to bed. I'm in bed relaxing. We get a knock on the door at about 1:30.
In the morning?
In the morning. A police officer is telling us that Michael has been killed. I just asked him, was everything okay? No, Michael has been killed. And so that just begins the whole situation of, where was he? What was he doing? Was he by himself? He was by himself. He didn't have any answers for us then. So it was very short. The answers that we did get were just yes, no answers. Then from there, the following day, my siblings and we all convened at the police department to try to get a little bit more information about what happened the night before. And to see if we can get a few more details as to what went on with our brother, where he was, because we didn't know where he was at the time.
What the incident was it a traffic stop? Was it a event he was at that he was stopped? We just didn't have any information. So just basically trying to get some of the basic facts of how it even came into an interaction with police in general.
So when they told you he got killed, did they tell you it was from a police officer?
Yes.
Okay.
It says, we asked what happened. He was pulled over and he was shot. Was he by himself? Was my next question.
Right.
Yes, he was. Did Michael have a weapon? Was my next question. To warrant some sort of interaction to where the officer would have a gun pulled on him and pulling the trigger. No, Michael did not have a weapon. And at that point, that's pretty much all I needed to listen to before I contacted my sister, my brother, and just try to let everybody know that we needed to come together right now because something had happened. So that night we were left with more questions than answers. We were told that he was transported to Dallas that night at 1:30 in the morning, the same day the incident happened. He was already transported to Dallas, is what we were told, at 1:30 in the morning. Because that was our next question: where is he? Where can we go to where he is?
Right.
And we couldn't.
Wow.
So that's what caused us to meet up again early the next morning, to go to the police department,
thinking we still would be able to identify him, or at least get some basic facts at that point.
Get a little bit more information as to what was going on, where he was, just some details as far as pretty much we wanted to know where our brother was.
Right.
That was our main concern. Where is he?
Right.
And how do y'all know that this is Michael Dean? How do we know this is in fact our brother that was killed? Because, we're in Temple. There's a lot of young black men that could possibly have been.
And when we asked the time frame, it just, from it taking so long for them to tell us, we just needed to see him.
Right.
We just wanted to make sure that they had the right person, because from them, that was their concern, that they were needing to verify if this was him, which is why it took them so long to tell us. To notify us was to make sure that they had the correct family that they were notifying.
So when you got to the police department the next day, what did they say?
We were met with...
They actually didn't want to talk to us.
Right. We were met with no conversation, really. We actually, all 5 of us were there, and they allowed one person with the detective to go into a room, and we had to choose which one of us would go sit and talk with the 2 detectives inside. And we waited outside.
So what was the reason behind that?
We got no explanation.
It was just because I said so?
Yes. Either it was that or nothing. It was basically...
Well, before it was nothing. Then we stood and waited for so long. They decided to allow one person to speak to them.
So what was that?
And the information that they were given to us came out on a sticky note with 2 sentences basically written on there, which was the ranger's information of contact. Still no answers. Still no information besides what we were told the night before, except for the fact that now they were telling us that Michael had not been transported to Dallas. He was still here. He was at a hospital here. That's what we got the next morning from the officers at the actual police station. That's the only change in information that we received. Right. So which still turned out not to be true. He was actually already in Dallas. That night.
So the police didn't have their story straight?
Right. No.
Oh, okay. So what happened after that?
Nothing. We basically have been where we're at for the last 6 weeks since that day. We've asked... we got the lawyer. That was the next thing that happened.
Okay.
The lawyer was part of our... We had him on. It was still within that same week, just a few days after it happened. He came onto the case, and just so happened to be the exact day that they were trying to return the vehicle to us. So we were advised by him to let them keep the vehicle because he's going to be performing his own investigation. Right. And so that's where he stepped in, and we have pretty much allowed him to take the lead and everything from here. But it's still... We've gotten no information, just pretty much the same things over and over again. Even with meetings with the police department, DA. That was the next thing that we actually ended up doing, is once the lawyer had gotten involved, we ended up with the meeting with the police department, the chief, their head of the...
Your interim chief, right?
Mm-hmm, the interim chief, and the head of the internal affairs investigation, and their lawyer. And so they are basically trying to dumb down and explain to us how this process works, which is somewhat insulting. But it was an hour-long conversation to tell us nothing.
And that meeting only came after the newspaper had released the cause of death, which was him being shot in his head. We still had no information about how many times he was shot, where he was. Like, we had none of that information. We saw that in the newspaper.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah. So
read it in the paper like everybody else.
Yeah.
And
that's their concern in the meeting. To hear them say a few times that they want the public to get all the information at once. It was never a concern
of the family,
getting an understanding for us.
Right.
They were concerned more about what the public was thinking and how the public was going to react to whatever information they put out. That's also where we learned that after we've asked them over the phone to not bother the vehicle, to leave it in the state that it was in, that they decided to clean the vehicle out.
Which is something they're not supposed to do.
Yes.
So how when I saw on television on the news, I saw there was a march. Then I saw that the Temple Branch and NAACP was involved. How did they connect? How did you connect them?
My mother reached out to Mr. Walsh. I think it was the night, actually, or the next morning that things happened. And because at that point we were in a place we've never lost a family member. We don't know what we're doing.
Right, exactly.
And we just needed help. And so it was us just trying to reach out to anybody who could give us any advice on what we can do next, because we were not getting the help from the people who are supposed to help us.
Right.
So it was trying to reach out to our community and get anybody in the community that has a voice or can do something about it to try to help. And so that's where my mother came in contact with Mr. Walsh.
Okay, Mr. Walsh. Well, I'll say Benny because that's how I know you as. Be like, who's Mr. Walsh?
Right. Who's that?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you feeling?
Good. So what happened when you got the call? What did you do? What can the NAACP do?
Recap it.
But what happened when you first got the call? What did you do with the president?
Christine Dean, that's the mother, she called me the next morning, and her concern was why did it take so long for them to inform me that my son was shot. And so I started reaching out. I called other police departments, other chiefs that I knew, and asked them what is the normal time for them to reach out to a person that, and the majority of them said, yeah, it's going to take 4 or 5 hours, because they want to make sure that they're contacting the right person to let them know that Michael had died. And I said, I'll go for that one. And so from that time on, we have been protesting, making awareness to it, because once I sat down and talked to the DC that's over Temple right now, he basically was waiting for someone with a higher power than him to make a move, because he's just acting. And so to me, that should have been the city manager.
Correct.
So I contacted the city manager and said, well, where are you at with informing the family and the community of what's going on? And she had no idea. Oh, we never been in this position before. I can understand that. But you should have had a plan. You shouldn't wait till mess happen to clean it up.
Right.
And so we have been protesting and marching ever since that time. The mayor has apologized, and like I told them, you can't fix this problem.
But wait,
already broke this.
Back up. What did the mayor apologize for? Exactly. I mean, because
as far as I understand, the mayor has not directly spoken to my parents or the lawyer.
Oh.
He said there was a invitation offered, but this was after
the first
things were already said, and things were already kind of messy to a certain extent between, information and and our family. So at the same rate, we're like, you have already told us all you have nothing to offer us as far as information, course of action. This is something you're saying is gray area. Y'all have never done this. Y'all don't have something set up for this. So what is this meeting going to entail other than us just sitting here looking at each other, hearing, we have nothing to give you, and we don't know what's next.
But on the other hand, we have sat in many meetings with city officials to receive that information. He has not been there.
And any of the other.
The district attorney's meeting, I'm sure he could have sat in on, where the lawyer and everyone who was over this
Texas
investigation
Rangers.
And the DA's investigator was there. I mean, there has been plenty of opportunity. I'm sure he could have sat in on the meeting that we had with the police department if he wanted to sincerely reach out to our family and speak to us. And it's just my opinion.
As well as the statement was made. I don't know if it was a live feed that I watched of, I guess it was the first march that happened, where he made a comment that we were refusing to meet with different officials like the mayor or other, and that has never been the case. We've never refused to meet with anyone. There was we asked for us to go through our attorney first so that we can all, because pieces of information were coming in from different places. Right. And they were conflicting.
Where that came from was that he did offer to speak to my parents, but the offer was extended without the lawyer being present.
Or media, yes. He wanted no other.
And we did, with our lawyer being involved in everything, we don't go to any meetings without him present. He is the one that's handling this case.
Since Temple and most of the cities around, due to sides, our city manager forms a government. So the mayor is really the cute figurehead that does ribbon cuttings and vote only when there's a tie to be broken. Other than that, mayors have nothing.
Right.
They're just they're just there. So actually, your city manager should be. I'm just saying, should be that one focal point, because she's the only one that actually
has any
represent. No, she represents the entire city because that's her job. Yes. You all pay her to do that, so she should be the one, with the updates. But I think the one unfair thing that I hear now that I didn't know then is that, to me, the police department owes you something before you read it in the paper. You shouldn't have to read in the paper. Oh, really? For real? Seriously? Oh, okay. No, that's for me to read in the paper. That's for me to read, and those of us in the public, that's for us to read in the paper.
Every instance of information that we've received has been through Facebook notifications of Temple Daily Telegram releasing a story, or a news outlet releasing a story. We have not been told straight from them. Like, that was one of the questions we asked the DA. When there is a release of information, is there going to be someone that notifies us before we read it somewhere? And the opposite happened once again with the information about the investigation nearing the end, and it's coming up to a no point. Once again, we read that and heard that at the rally that night. We specifically asked that question because, it's a slap in the face whenever you already know nothing, and then you get on Facebook and all your friends are sharing stories about your brother, right? And you had no idea that these things even happened, and then you're reading them from a third party source because they got told from the person that told them. Yeah. So
it was even offered by our lawyer for the entire family to sign a gag order.
Yes.
So that any information that was received by the police department, if they decided to communicate with us directly,
could not be shared
with anybody else. And I don't think that he received a response as far as that, obviously, because we still get all of our information through the media. So
okay, I'm gonna ask Benny a question, but before I do, I stepped outside of myself, and what I mean by that, along with being on the radio, everybody knows, first of all, that for the NAACP, I'm the state education chair. What you don't already know is I'm the Central Texas area coordinator also. And what that means, I can deal with an issue in a branch, where in a city where there's no branch. But also, if there's a president in the area that's doing something good, I can support them. for support them. I could be there for support. And my support sounds weird, but my support would be to find out any information that I think he needs to know that they don't know. To say, hey, whatever. My support doesn't extend to the family, and meaning that I can't go over Benny to talk to you and not tell him. Right. But I can go tell him. I said, hey, so this is what I did do. When I heard about the car, our national attorney, Victor Good, I emailed him. Because that sounded weird to me. The car got cleaned. I'm like, first of all, the shooting in the head to me was an execution, but that's my own personal opinion. Because if I want to execute you, that's what I'm going to do. Not to say I'm going to, but anyway, you know. But when the car got cleaned, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. Since when y'all start seeing cleaning cars? So I sent our national, like I said, I sent Victor Good the email. From the article in the paper, and he was like, excuse me, but they're not supposed to clean the car. He has 50 questions of me, right? So those 50 questions, since I'm not a lawyer, I did the alibi. So I suppose now I'll send those to you, Benny, and I know you won't have the answers, but those would be questions that Victor has that, right, can go up to be asked. But to ask you, as far as the NAACP, the NAACP has held the rallies, and I've been to all the rallies. The last one you had, I had to stand in the back, and I stood in the back on purpose. And I'll tell you later why I had to stand back in the back instead of letting you know I was there, but it's okay. But how far can you go?
That's a good question.
What can you do? What can you do?
Basically, I can be another mouthpiece for the family and the community, because I serve the family and the community. And so I've been reaching out to everyone. I got a call from a good friend of mine on Monday or Tuesday that has good connections with the governor. He said, you write up a letter about this incident, because this should have been taken care of by now, and we shouldn't be dragging this on. And I'll make sure it gets on the governor's desk. So I did that. I sent them a letter. And it did get to the governor's chief of staff. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we're going to get some results out of this. That's my job, to do what the family probably can't do. And I stayed on the city. I have told the city, just like the family have, any information needs to come to the family first and then to the community. And that hasn't happened. Now, I'm very disappointed in that. The city manager has reached out and just crying and boo-hooing, I messed up. You messed up because you didn't communicate, and you're still not communicating. So what's the difference? That's my job, is to stay on the people that the family can't reach out to. And that's why we're continuing to protest and awareness until we get some answers.
So has our state president or anybody on our state staff contacted you to let you know where other places you can go?
Yes, our state president has called me and gave me some advice and some points that I should look at and things that I should do. So yes, I've been in contact with our state president, and we realize that this is more than just a Temple problem. It's a national problem. And so we have to stay on. I got a call the other day from an incident happening in Waco.
You will, yeah.
Yeah. They want to know, what are we doing up here? Because they need to do it down there. We got to stop the killings of black men. We just have to. It just don't make sense. We did this back in the 60s. I'm old enough to remember that. We did this back in the 60s. So why are we still doing it in 2020?
You know why? I'm not going to say the whole reason of why, but the reason happened in a generation gap. Okay, I grew up in the 60s, and in fact, I was really upset too. I tried to join the Black Panthers. I'm from Detroit, so I tried to join, and they told me I wasn't old enough, so I was really upset. Because at that time, I was in. First of all, my family has always been in the mode of fighting. When Martin Luther King marched in Detroit, I was marching and didn't know what the heck I was marching for. But I was told that you're going to be in this march. So, as a child, I shut up and listened.